Hi everyone, today let's talk about the inflation data. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So inflation came in at a great number, 2.5%, down 0.4 from the previous. Great numbers there on the headline, 0.2 on the core month over month, which was in line with the consensus. Overall, this was pretty good data. You can see it here. July and August were both flat at 0.2 for the core number, but the headline number, very, very good. We saw that step down from 2.9 to 2.5, which was better than expectations. And of course, that was good for markets. The year-over-year number was expected to stay flat, and it did, so not super great there. But now, how does this translate to a potential 50 basis point cut? Markets really didn't like the report early, and treasuries were mixed, and then they ended up rallying into the end of the session. Traders now looking at 85% chance of a quarter point. I, again, still think that that is basically 100% at this point. And the big decline, of course, was energy. Energy prices have been declining super aggressively. You can see 0.8% on energy. Food went up 0.1, shelter went up 0.5. So really energy was the only category that went down so much and pulled down the headline number, which makes sense considering that the core number was flat. Fear and greed looking at a 43 up from a 39. Pretty substantial bounce here today. Way stronger than I would have guessed. Strength and breadth continue to hover in greed despite momentum, stepping from only fear to neutral. And then looking at put call ratio, this continues to accelerate here towards that 0.9 area. I'm waiting to see that happen. Volatility pulled back to the SMA, critical zone there. We'll see how that plays. And then safe haven demand is back into neutral. And then junk bonds still hovering in extreme fear. This is really the most concerning part to me. I think people are very concerned about the economy in the medium term. We just got a normalized yield curve, and I don't think the inflation data is strong enough to hold up markets. Moving over to seasonality, you can see we are in this bullish trend, and that continues to play out, looking for a move all the way until Friday. And then after that, we're looking for a bigger move down. So we'll see how it plays. Still bullish here over the next couple days. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see that data. Core CPI, they're saying 0.3 here versus the 0.2, so that was not great. That 0.2 that we were looking at must have been the headline number for the month over month, so core number actually came in a little bit hot, despite the year-over-year number coming in line with the expectations, and then 10-year note auction, 3.6 versus 3.9. And then for tomorrow, we do have PPI for the Thursday session, as well as the federal balance sheet, as well as federal budget. Definitely want to see those. And then that 30-year bond auction. Moving over to Max Pain. Max Pain is still that 545 stock price all the way up at 554. Put call ratio came down a little bit, but still very high, preventing markets from moving lower. Probably going to see that follow through all the way through this week. Probably won't see that down move until next week based on that put call ratio, which again does fit with the seasonality. Moving over to the charts, what a whipsaw here on the S&Ps. It was down 1%, over 1%, tagged these bottoms back from the Friday session, and then ended up over 1%, breaking through this trend line. Very powerful. Got just barely above that 21 EMA. This was the zone we were looking for a retest, so we were bullish going into the day, but now this looks really strong. SMA right there. Definitely going to test that tomorrow. We'll see if it plays. So we hit the price target. Looking for the retest, waiting to see what happens. Based on how it's trending, you would expect a little bit of a rejection or at least a slight double bottom or a higher low setup, maybe a retest of that highly traded zone at 54.63. But right now that looks solid, a little better than this previous 2-candle hold and then big down move. Now we've got a 2-day consolidation. Remember, we've seen this before off this previous high where you had about 6 days of consolidation before the bigger drop. So doesn't mean that this down move is completed yet. Actually looks very similar if you look at it. Consolidation on this trend line, consolidation on this trend line, powerful move. The next day was a strong rejection, so something to consider there, especially coming off of that SMA test. And then looking at levels, you can see we pushed right to that 554.87 level, critical level there, 200 SMA on the hourly chart. Technically, we closed above it just barely, momentum fading, RSI almost overbought there on the hourly chart. What a dramatic whipsaw here. You can see we were in this range, broke down, tested that level here, again, almost to the penny at 540.34, and then rallied up, broke that next level, pushed through these trend lines, right to the next one, candle break continuation here, and then we got that strong push. So wide-ranging day from top to bottom. That was about 2.5% on the SPY. I'm sure it was more on the NASDAQ, but you do have to be a little bit bullish off of that move. Critical zone here, this is the low of this previous consolidation. If it pushes through there, there could be about another 1.5 to 2% up to this previous high. and that would be back to the all-time highs. So we'll see how it plays on the SPY. Momentum says it should. RSI says maybe a rejection. Moving over to that 4-hour chart, you can see we took out the ATR trailing stop, so now we are back into bullish conditions here on the SPY. That was trading at 551.60, and now we have an ATR stop to the downside at 539.07. So bullish conditions, upper ATR there at 558.51. Again, that gives you about another 1% move right to the lows of that previous consolidation. Makes sense. Momentum did start to fade a little bit at the top of those candles. Did get very strong volume on that push though, so you could argue low, higher low setup, strong push, took out these levels. Looks like a fairly clean breakout. The question is how much follow through is there going to be? Is it just through the end of the week and then we get that seasonality move? Definitely something to look for. Moving over to the NASDAQ here on the daily chart, you can see up candle coming through that trend line here. We didn't have any clear support here, so we were looking for a potential breakdown rejection off of this trend, and then we pushed right through it. That's why you got to be patient. We did have another wide-ranging candle. You can see from top to bottom. That was about almost 4%, 3.8% on the strong candle. 21 EMA sitting there at 19,279. We'll see if that ends up being a zone of resistance. RSI has broken through here, so that looks a little bit better. Doesn't mean that we can't reject. It's absolutely happened before. You can see this longer term down move where we chopped up and down from that SMA, but still ended up going much, much lower. So something to consider there. Absolutely still could go lower, but right now it is a bullish trend. And then looking at that hourly chart again, you can see the big down move initially took out this previous low, so that would have been my stop there. And then you can see we took off to the upside. I was expecting more breakdown from here. I wanted to see a double bottom down here at that 446.66 level, or at least test the low from the Friday candle. Didn't quite get that same setup as the S&Ps. Cleaner setup, honestly, and the NASDAQ really took the rally here. Stacking candles, a bunch of them in a row, closed at the high of day, all the way up at 468.05. After hours were a little bit below it, but very powerful, overbought condition. See if we get a little bit of a retracement, and then we'll see what happens after that. Again, 21 EMA in terms of levels, which is sitting at 469.42. And then as a zone of support here for me, 464.50 if this level breaks down here. And then your next one to the upside, if we do continue this rally, would be 471.93. Moving over to the 4-hour chart, obviously we took out those ATRs just like the SPY. So that was trading right around the 462.66 level, and then we had that very powerful candle hit that upper ATR, which was at 469.70, and now we're going to see if this is going to reject from here. At least in the short term, you would expect it to slow down a little bit. Once you hit those bands, it can absolutely grind along it, similar to what we saw here, where you touch it, grind sideways, pull back in time, and then see a continuation. So we'll see if we get something like that. Either way, this rally is probably going to slow down, at least in the short term. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, these continue to look not nearly as good. They were slightly positive, 0.29 and 0.25, but look at these lows. Huge wicks, again, very wide-ranging candles, almost got down to these trends. Momentum did step to bullish on both of them, but again, they don't look super great, to be honest. We could see a little bit of a breakout. Your highest level that I could see this going on the Russell would be 212.10, and then looking at the Dow, again, wicked all the way down to that 55 EMA, took out all these previous lows, ended up finishing back in the middle of the range, so there is still some demand in markets. But is it going to rocket back up to these trends? I don't know if that seems likely yet. If we get a break above 410.89, maybe we see that push. That is the wick highs back here from the 1 August candle. But like I said, they both made lower lows. Moving over to the Mag 7, this broke out. We had this downtrend, closed well above it, so this looks a lot stronger now. Momentum stepping to bullish again, RSI back above the SMA. Momentum bullish, volume bullish, strong push, next level 265.08. I think this has a little bit more gas in the tank on the Mag 7. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple did turn a positive day at 1.16. Still in this consolidation though, almost wicked the low. Momentum did step to bullish, so that's interesting. Maybe this has a little bit more, but really the clean move here was Microsoft. We were at the top of the range, gapped through it, retested continuation, strong candle, 2.13%, momentum bullish, RSI bullish, and I do think this is headed back to that 429.88 level. Going to find resistance at this previous top here around 425, but I still like it, at least to the 55 EMA, which is at 429.14. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA, both of these had good days. Tesla was up 0.87 after throwing a big wick down. Again, wide-ranging candles really across markets after that CPI data. It's down just a little bit after hours, but I think it's going to go. And then looking at NVIDIA, similarly there, very positive, 8% on the day. We liked this setup yesterday. It held the level yesterday. Did have a wick down early in the session after rallying pre-market, but good move, big volume, RSI breakout. Momentum's probably got some more here. Looking at 124.69 as the level. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet. We've liked Amazon. It broke the level, headed to that 188.61 level. 2.7% momentum bullish, RSI bullish, so everything looks good there. Google still consolidating at this 150.26 level. Bounced just a little bit. Momentum stepped to bullish. This short-term move here is probably done. Get a little bit of a retracement. Might see a continuation lower, but that could take a couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, we did get a little bit of a change in structure here. So we've been watching staples off to the races here over the last couple of weeks, but now we got bearish momentum, breakdown from RSI, big down candle, gap down and fell. And on the back of that, we have discretionaries pushing right to the level. The high of day was 189.31, so missed my level just by a couple of cents there. Hit the high back from the 31 August candle. So we did basically hit that price target, just a couple of pennies there. But look at the structure. Staples breaking down a little bit. Discretionaries rallying, breaking this previous consolidation. So it might be in a little bit of a risk on market here over the next day or two. Moving over to oil and gas and technology. Oil and gas did hit that next target at 124.13. Bounced very powerfully off of that level here. The low of day was 124.12, so touched it almost to the penny and then bounced pretty dramatically to finish almost unchanged on the day. This seems to be finding a base in here that's 2 wicks to the downside. Something to watch for. Waiting for a little bit more confirmation here on oil and gas. I do like it in this zone. And then looking at technology, this was obviously the best performer on the day. 3.4% momentum swinging to bullish. Looking for a test of this trend here at 222.92. Moving over to ROIT and Marathon, just to follow up on yesterday, ROIT ended up turning in an inside day. Doesn't mean that it can't continue to that 21 EMA. Marathon seems to be the better play. It's got a little bit more strength. Hit the 21, hit the VWAP, and then pulled back a little bit. Ended up down 1%. Momentum did step to bullish on both of these, so I think there still could be a little bit more in it. But this is still a downtrend. You have to consider that. And we are hitting some key resistance there at 16.15. Moving over to Breadth, this is probably why we saw such a strong bounce. Breadth hit those indicators that we talked about. 20-day got all the way down to that 28.21 level. That was even a little bit lower than I thought. I was looking for 30 to 36. We did get there. We did hit that next level all the way to these lows back from June, and then we rejected powerfully. So that could be the end of this short-term move, looking for a little bit more rally. Waiting to see exactly what happens, but momentum's flattening out here on Breadth. And then looking at 50-day, same thesis, hit the 52.81 level. Big wick low, hit these consolidation levels, momentum stepping back to bullish, and I think this could have a couple more days of follow through to the upside. So Breadth showing markets could have a little bit more strength and a little bit more powerful relief rally than it looked like initially. Moving over to the dollar here on the hourly and the daily, you can see we did get another continuation. After hours yesterday, it fell. Pre-market this morning, it pushed. Interesting to see the dollar rallying on that inflation data. That inflation locked in some cuts, probably already priced in, but the dollar liked the data, which was interesting. Could just be the technicals here. It still looks bullish in my opinion. We've been talking about the dollar looking good. Think it needs to break this consolidation here. Once that happens, it's going to have quite a bit of follow through. So critical zone here, waiting for some moves up to this previous consolidation low, 102.8, or as high as 102.98. Moving over to bonds, you can see J&K liked the data, so it makes sense. A little bit of a more risk on market, big volume there, momentum swinging to bullish. This is probably going a little higher, got back above the level there at 96.51, and then TLT continues to hit this resistance, makes sense. It wasn't strong enough to push yields lower, so TLT still hanging in this zone around the 100 level, and that resistance. It is grinding the level right now, but it could roll here a little bit more. Then you'll look for that higher low setup and continuation. Moving over to my accounts, I traded absolutely terribly. I got stopped out on the down move, and then I was kind of holding that short-term bearish position, and then I got squeezed, and I wasn't really paying attention too closely to markets because I was at work, and that was unfortunate. So I was able to readjust and get a little bit more bullish into the end of the session, make just a little bit of that money back, but not a lot. You can see trade price, bought it here at 460.80. but I sold those calls right at it at 461 for today's session, rolled those to 462 for tomorrow's session. Probably roll these again to try to capture some of that money. After hours, it's down a little bit. And then for the Russell, I have a 206 for tomorrow still. Almost all the profit is in on that. We'll see how it plays, might roll it up. This is actually flat after hours, so either way, looking for that. If we start to see a continuation, I'll put on a covered call here for the IWM and get back into that position. But right now, just being patient. We are at some critical levels for resistance, looking for that SMA test tomorrow. And as long as everything looks good, I'll continue to get a little bit more bullish tomorrow. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the inflation data. Is it going to continue to drive markets higher? How strong is this relief rally? Or is it really with the longer term trend continuing to the upside to new highs? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.